Hello everybody, welcome back. Yes, back. Part 2. Can we call it part 2? Yeah, we can, because this is part 2. Apologies for the technical issues. Unfortunately, my computer I say computer, it's a laptop, completely crashed, and unfortunately it all just ended. But we are now back, so thank you for your patience. And I just want to quickly say this. I keep forgetting this, and I really do need a smack around the face. What a start to a stream. I just want to say a massive thank you to Alex Vollo for the thumbnails that he does for us, because it is a massive help to what we do. I've put up a new thumbnail for this particular channel with Ray in it. But yeah, we're going to be doing the Saturday night reaction, just looking back at the matches today and kind of just having a general chit chat while the Liverpool versus Aston Villa game's on. Obviously, you guys will be aware that Liverpool are winning at the moment 1-0 thanks to Nunes, assisted by Salah. The other news is that Trent Alexander-Arnold has gone off injured and replaced by Bradley. From a selfish point of view, I'm kind of hoping Aston Villa score, because basically I got rid of Konate to bring in Mazraoui and also took out Dibbling to bring in Johnson because of that man down there. Do you want to give them a wave, Ray? Hello, Ray.
Hi.
Me at work.
Yeah, I'm literally doing verbatim of you, Stephen. Hi, you alright? Now that's an impression, bitch.
Yeah, do it again. What's the impression, Ray? Go.
What have you? Hi, you alright? Yeah, I'm alright. You're gonna look out of your phone? No, I'm okay.
Yeah.
By the way, Jacob Ramsey came off injured and McGinn is on.
Okay. Apparently Rodgers has got a yellow card as well.
Quite surprised to see McGinn didn't start this game. I thought this would be, the kind of game for him, being an engine, just running up and down, But, the thing about Villa is they actually have decent strength and depth, don't they, Steve? Which is why they're doing so well in the Champions League as well.
Villa have incredible. I would argue that they have one of the best second string teams in the Premier League, if I'm honest, because they can call on such high quality performing players. Like who, Steve-O? Duran?
I know.
Matson?
Yeah. Matson.
No, Matson.
Say that name for like 18 months. I love it.
Matson is fantastic, but he just...
Half-time.
Yeah. I can finally take this out. He just doesn't get a chance. And I'm gutted for him. But Unai Emery has found what his first team is that will play pretty much every single week in the Premier League, and then in the Champions League he will make the odd change, ironically bringing in Matson, who did have major Champions League experience, plus did very well with Borussia Dortmund. Where did Borussia Dortmund come last year in the Champions League? Can you remember? Was it semi-finals?
They got to the final and lost to Madrid 2-0.
Oh wow! Oh right, okay. No, I thought it was. Oh right, who did they beat? Was that the one where they beat? No, they wouldn't have beaten Bayer Leverkusen. Who did they beat to get to the final? Was that Man City or Tottenham? I can't even think now.
Tottenham weren't in the Champions League last season, or were they?
I can't. Someone
I couldn't tell you. But we were talking a little bit about Slot, and you were kind of asking me. So I thought I'd kind of repeat myself.
Oh yeah. So the question was about the fact that Slot seems to have got the best out of the undercard, shall we say, at Liverpool, the likes of Gravenberch, the likes of Gakpo, Diaz and everything. And I was just making the point that for you as an experienced manager and someone that's in charge of a team or has been in charge of teams, it's very important to make sure that if you are a new manager that you don't disrupt anything, and if anything you put in your arm around the people that are like on the outsiders and make sure that they're part of a team. And someone with your experience will be aware that that is one of the most important factors in being a manager.
Yeah, absolutely. It wasn't the Van Dijks and Salahs of the world that he needed to kind of G up, isn't it? It was the Curtis Jones, Gravenberch, Gakpo, as you rightly said, and they're performing admirably. But what's so impressive when I watch them play is they kind of have an on and off button. They know when to press on and be sensational, as they were against us really for the second half until they equalised. I mean, we didn't help ourselves. But then they also know when to back off and be a lot more solid defensively. And I think that's what Slot's balanced so well compared to Klopp previously is he knows when to push and pull. He knows when to put his foot on the gas and go for it, and then he knows when to kind of, sit back a bit and get control, and all of that while getting everyone on side. And the thing that is terrifying, Sivo, is he is still implementing this style into Liverpool whilst they're playing. He's doing it all on the go, and there's only been one game they have not won all season. So it's phenomenal, absolutely brilliant. Kudos to him. So yeah, let's see, man. It's scary stuff.
Is that the game against Nottingham Forest?
Yeah, where they lost 1-0.
It's just mental. When you think about of all the teams this season that Liverpool have played, the one team that they've lost to is Nottingham Forest at Anfield. It just blows your mind that even happened.
Yeah, and they've played some really good teams. I mean, against Leverkusen, they were brilliant. The goals came in the second half, but Leverkusen just, even though they had possession, they were doing nothing. Liverpool were and are fantastic, to be honest.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I said it last year that I think they were going to win the Premier League, and I also said that Nottingham Forest could be challenging for Europe when Nuno came in. Turned out that Nottingham Forest were just fighting a relegation battle, and Man City went on to win the league along with you guys challenging to the end. Whereas this season, Nottingham Forest are challenging for Europe, and Liverpool are looking absolutely phenomenal, and Liverpool are looking absolutely phenomenal at the moment and look like they are going to be going on to win the Premier League as it stands right this second as we speak. Just want to quickly say hello to Blonde, which means one thing, Ray. What does one thing mean when a moderator's here? What does that mean, Ray?
Fantastic game week.
Spot on, and she's also got 8 players left to play tomorrow. Roberto's back. Welcome, pal. Bilal, Colm, Heggers. In fact, next week will be... I'm gutted. I may not be able to go. In fact, I'm absolutely fuming. I can't go to Juice's 5-a-side tournament next week. I'm going to see if somebody can cover my shift. And if they can, I'll be able to get next week's Saturday off. Because I really want to go. Because I think that... Because Alf will be there doing his microphone duties. I think I can just have a laugh with him and I can just sit back and just enjoy the football rather than having a microphone shoved in my face and going, Steve, can you do and host a stream? So I think that I'm glad that Alf's going to be there doing what he needs to do. But would you be able to come along next week, or you won't be able to due to family?
Yeah, due to family. It's quite funny. I won't delve into it, but Alf and I have been communicating a bit recently, simply because he's just been so active and on YouTube, and I just wanted to discuss a bit with him. And I kind of said, weekends are we both kind of said it, that weekends are kind of sacred time with the family, if you know what I mean, because we're not working, they're not going to school, so we can really enjoy the time there with them. So as brilliant as it will be, and I know it will be fantastic. It'd be great to catch up with so many people I haven't seen in months and months and months. It's just, it will be at the sacrifice of family time, and it's something, as as we talk a lot as friends, is something I value the highest, if that makes sense.
No, like I say, I completely understand. It's the same with Jason. I always tell him that family comes first at the end of the day, and try and work around try and get these streams kind of worked around the family, so to speak, if it's possible, really. Hence why he's kind of backed off doing the streams, and because of what he's doing, I'm just grateful that people like yourself and obviously Shane are able to jump on when and if needed, basically. Colm here. Good evening, pal. Heggis. What do you call it? Blonde saying, what did you think of Pep's treatment of Van Heck? I don't even know what happened. What happened?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, he had a pop at him, actually. He actually went to him, shook his hand, and then he was kind of aggressively kind of talking, and Van Heck was actually giving it back to him. It was actually quite entertaining. And then I could kind of tell Pep was walking away and then came back and kind of said, well done for playing your game, if that makes sense. It was like one of those, kind of tight handshakes, if you like. But Van Heck was actually going back at him. And I actually like to see that, because I see a lot of times managers go to the opposition players and kind of give a little bit. I like to see the players come back at them, if that makes sense. I love it. So when Haaland did the whole be humble comment to Arteta, I kind of loved it. I'm like, it's good to see a bit of needle between players and managers that doesn't just go one way. And I think that's what made the Man U and Arsenal rivalry for a good 6-7 years so magical, Stevo, is that we genuinely had a lot of issues with each other. The respect was there, but the hatred and just the pure willingness to win was there. And I really miss that in football, to be honest with you. I really miss that, we hate them kind of vibe, but maybe that's just me. It's old school. Can you relate with me? Obviously, us being similar age.
Yeah, we're in our 30s. Yeah,
no.
I agree a lot with the likes of Mark Goldbridge. I do listen to Mark Goldbridge, well, specifically on that football, whenever I tune in, and I think the one thing that football seems to have lost is the grassroots style, trying to be an individual player rather than a team player, trying to do things because you've got the talent, like the likes of Rooney, for instance, Messi, Ronaldo, to name three off the top of my head, who are able to do a bit of magic and be able to shoot from 50 yards out and score, for instance. And I think off the top of my head right now, one of the few players in the Premier League that is one of those where it's like, I'm going to do everything, is Cole Palmer. And I do miss the whole thing of this old school men. It's not even old school. It's only been over the past 10 years, if that, where teams are just becoming like robots. It's just this whole nonsense of passing out from the back. There's no... I just find players just aren't individuals anymore, and just grabbing a game by the horns and they can do it themselves, like Cole Palmer put. I mean, is Saka one of those players, would you say, Ray, that could win a game on his own, or is he somebody that does need a team to help him?
Yeah, I mean, they can. I mean, there's just a litany of wonderfully talented players, but I think we spoke about this maybe even in pre-season, is that they're not being allowed to express themselves.
Yeah.
Because that means it sacrifices structure. And, it's and I've listened to a lot, and I listen to a lot of different sports pods and like The Athletic, for example, have some good ones. Obviously, we've got the Arsenal ones, but they say that no one's allowed to go out there and be a maverick anymore, and a player I specifically thought about was Alexis Sanchez for Arsenal, where we were really poor. We were a really mediocre team during that time, and then Sanchez just suddenly creates some magic, and then boom, something happens. Mesut Ozil creates something, and then suddenly something incredible happens. I think we shouldn't lose the art of players being allowed to express themselves, because you can be expressive and fantastic and still have structure. I genuinely believe you can have the balance, but no team has that at the moment, isn't it? You either have structure or almost way too much expression. And, I think someone can catch both. And when they do, I think they'll absolutely dominate football, genuinely. And funnily enough, I think before Haaland... No, actually, the season Haaland came, Man City had both. They were playing absolutely gorgeous, lights-out football at times, and still only conceded like 24 goals and won the treble. But unfortunately, I do think at the moment it seems to be a dead art, like you rightly said, isn't it?
Yeah, I just get sick to death of seeing teams like, for argument's sake, Brighton trying to pass the ball out of a flaming goal, and even at Burnley, just seeing James Trafford trying to pass the ball out from the back, it's just like, Jesus Christ. Just fucking boot up the field, for crying out loud. Question for you. Well, it's not really a question, but I'll make it into a question. Too Many Genders saying this Liverpool team now reminds me of the Arsenal team before the Qatar World Cup. Does that mean anything to you?
Sorry, but can you repeat that again?
Does this Liverpool team remind you of the Arsenal team before the Qatar World Cup? If you can even remember the Arsenal team, I don't even know when the... Hold on a minute.
Oh, the season before last.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I disagree. I actually think they're defensively more solid than we were at that time, because that was when we brought in Zinchenko and Jesus, and we were just playing some of the best football I've seen us play in years. But we were still leaking a lot of goals, and I think this Liverpool team are built different. I don't think they're as expressive as we were at that time, but that team would not. That Arsenal team at that time, who even though offensively were just flying in, defensively, we were leaving a lot of gaps. Like we were conceding a lot of goals. So I disagree. I think this Liverpool team are getting the balance right, in my opinion. I think by the new year, I think we're going to finally get that slot style. And I genuinely feel he's trying to balance both sides, have that creative exuberance, expression, but keep it solid at the back. But that is kind of some of its parts as well. They need players like Konate to be fit. Because if Konate's out of this team, I think actually Liverpool are in a really bad way. I think he's becoming potentially their key defender at the back now, Steve-O.
Hence why you told me to sell him.
Yeah. If they get a clean sheet, I'm going to disconnect real quick.
Yeah. Sim, would you believe, is here right now. I don't know if he's still here, but Sim, I was genuinely going to write in the chat that you look like you'd rather be anywhere else but Launchpod Studios today. It was quite...
Boona does that to you.
It was very difficult because when you're watching something live, you cannot edit out the way people look. And if they'd recorded that live and then they decided, right, we're going to do a WWE style edit, they would have cut out all of Sim's video imagery, camera footage, and any time he was smiling, they'd be like, right, get that cut in. But most of the time, it looked like the scene where Homer Simpson is bored watching Marge during the I forget what the bloody play's called now, but playing Stella Duar or whatever blasted name is, and he's just there bored out of his mind.
What's that story?
It's when Marge becomes the
Stella.
That's it.
Stella. Yeah. West Side. The West Side story.
It honestly, Sim just looked like he wanted to jump with a bridge, and I was thinking, we can swap places if you want, mate. You can come and do the bins at the hospital. You can do that, and I'll come on chat an absolute twaddle. Where was it? John Janopoulos saying, hello, Stevie. Again, there are names here I haven't seen for a very, 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 very long time. Ridiculous. Luke coming through with some office quotes there. Do you know who done the picture? No. Yeah. No. Right. Your first answer was... This is all going over your head, isn't it, Ray?
Yeah, completely.
Yeah, it's a shame that, because...
Keep going.
This is why with whatchamacallit, when doing anything with Alf or Shane, instant. Why did Trent come off? Injured? Got injured?
Yes, sir. Villa are in. Oh my goodness!
Oh, aren't I listening to this? What's happened?
Just put wide by... I don't know. I don't think that's Rodgers.
Who's missed this opportunity, Ray?
I'm checking. I think... Are
you watching this on a tiny...
It may have been Rodgers. I am, yeah. I've found a stream. Legal. Oh, that's Rodgers. Rodgers missed a one-on-one coming from the left. Pause.
I say great. It has no bearing on my team, because my team, if we go onto the other screen, which would have just... So I was going to do...
Finally.
Masrari in for Lewis Dunk and Garnacho in for Dibbling, but you said no. In fact, I'll do the Hulk Hogan impression you must have seen this when Hulk Hogan's doing the lie detector test with Vincent Mann.
Yes.
I've seen it at least 4 times. And I just keep doing the line, are you Hulk Hogan? No. And you were the Hulk Hogan, and it's, shall I bring in Garnacho? Hold on. Oh, nothing. And you went, no. And you said, bring in Johnson instead.
Well, the real
now,
Hulk
hold on.
Okay, sorry.
To get Johnson in, though, I had to get rid of Kanate, which I was like, I really don't want to be getting rid of Kanate. I really do not. Because I would have legitimately, this is the truth, I would have played Kanate over Lewis. This is the truth.
Mm-hmm.
I don't go. Nunes coming close. I would have played Kanate over Lewis. It doesn't matter now. But yeah, so I had to do that move to bring in Johnson for the funds. But do you want to explain to the audience why you advised me to do that?
Well, first of all, I did a proper Hulk Hogan. I said, "Let me tell you something, brother." But basically, I thought that Garnacho and Mazraoui. Funnily enough, I thought Amorim was going to manage this game week, but he's not. He's actually starting on Monday or Tuesday. So he is not actually going to be managing the team when they play against Leicester. So I kind of found myself thinking that going double on an unknown at the moment with Manchester United is a bit too, I'll use the word I use, risky for me. And I just feel like Spurs at the moment have kind of definitely hit a hot streak of scoring goals. They're an extremely offensive team. And I felt like Brennan Johnson is probably the best way of getting in there. I know we spoke a lot about Kulusevski, but what I've seen from him is he really has been creating opportunities. And Johnson at the moment is just on a massive purple patch, isn't he? He's scoring a lot of goals at the moment. And I think that right side is assured for him. And I just look at Spurs' fixtures and I just feel, next up they got Man City away. Yes, I can see him scoring. Of course, tomorrow they got the game against Ipswich. Yes, I think I can see him getting a return. Then after that, Man City, Fulham, Bournemouth, Chelsea, Southampton, Liverpool. I think Spurs can score goals in all those games, actually. So I felt it was best going forward. And, one thing I spoke to you a lot about is I think you want to be in a place where you've got a good asset from every single team by the time you hit game week 15, 16. And I think if you're looking, 0.1 for 0.1, pound for pound, good value, I think Johnson's actually become brilliant, in my opinion. Have you muted yourself?
I have muted myself, you're right. I wonder why I sounded so quiet. So Verbruggen, I played ahead of Flecken, which turned out to be the better decision. He came out with 2 extra points more than Flecken. Mazraoui, obviously, 8 Nuri. Lewis, Mbermo, Palmer, who may not be playing tomorrow. Salah captain as it stands right now. It was a toss-up between him and Haaland, but you said go with Salah, so I've gone with him. Johnson, Haaland, Delap, and Cunha. I'm really hoping Delap comes through with something tomorrow. That would be a massive differential from my point of view regarding FPL specifically, because a lot of rivals unfortunately have got Solanke, some even having him as Captain Ray. I'm quite bullish on tomorrow's match. I'm thinking that Tottenham are going to wipe the floor with Ipswich. I've predicted 4-2. Honestly, I'm expecting a minimum of 3-4 goals to Tottenham tomorrow.
Yeah, I went 4-1 personally. I think I can never envisage Spurs getting a clean sheet because sometimes they'll play like Maddison and Kulusevski with Bentancur or something like that. There's like no central midfield protection. So I agree with you. And I think that's why playing Delap, I think I would have played Rodgers when I was giving you your squad, but I could see why you'd say Delap simply because Spurs defensively they're an awful defensive team. The stats back it up. So yeah, I love that. Yeah, and also the great thing about having Delap as well is he's just got good fixtures, isn't it? Eventually, obviously, you might want me to share my mini plan that I have regarding your team, but he has wonderful fixtures.
Well, talking of that mini plan, I was thinking of one player that could potentially come in for Delap. It's Brighton's João Pedro. 5.4 rate. What do you think about João Pedro moving forward? as a replacement for Delap.
Funnily enough, I was going through some Patreon episodes and then I bumped into the wildcard one that you had me on as a guest. And you were asking about Brighton players, and I said the only two that I would trust are Dunk and Mitoma. But you can take Dunk out of that now, and I feel the only one you can really comfortably guarantee will start games is Mitoma. And I don't think he's a viable asset in my opinion. So I'm unsure, Steve-O. I mean, because you don't have a lot, you're not going to be playing with too much money, with kind of what I was thinking. And in my opinion, I'm thinking more Delap can be a no one. So then you can strengthen a lot more the rest of your squad.
Yeah.
But at the same time, João Pedro makes Brighton better when he plays. Absolutely.
Shepherd is saying we need Salah to score. I absolutely completely agree with you. We are needing Salah to get that extra goal because I'm just worried about these Solanke captainers. Who was it in the moderator league? There was someone in the moderator league that captained Solanke. I can't for the life of me think who. Well, Mahit saying, would you pick Pedro or Welbeck for the upcoming Brighton fixtures? Go for it, Ray.
Yeah, it would be Pedro actually, because I don't think Welbeck is worth 1 million more. Because Welbeck's 6.5, isn't he, Steve? I believe I'm correct.
Something like that, yeah. Maybe 6.6, but he's
actually he's 5.9. Oh, I'd go Welbeck then, Mohit, because I think Welbeck is nailed.
Welbeck is definitely nailed. Lewis saying here, is there going to be a 2 p.m. watch on? No, I'm not doing a solo stream. In fact, do you want to just, while we're here, just say to the audience why you're proud of the fact that I'm not doing solo streams anymore, in all seriousness?
Yeah, 100%. I was happy you were going to ask a question of that ilk today. I think when you were doing the solo episodes or solo streams, I couldn't sense any energy or enjoyment, and you just didn't want to be there. And one thing we spoke about in pre-season was, you were sharing a lot about, I'm not going to do solo streams anymore. And I doubted you. I said, I feel like you're addicted to just putting out content. So I think you will continue doing them. And you haven't, Steve-O. And for that, I think your streams are coming out a lot better. There's a lot more energy with yourself now. You're enjoying it. Whoever you're doing it with, it's always good to have someone to bounce off, isn't it? And, not to patronize you or anything like that. But as your friend, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you that you're not doing it, because I think you're enjoying and excited to do content.
This coming on the evening where I'm constantly yawning because I'm just absolutely shattered from
because I bore him. I'm a boring guy.
Do you know anything about Jason's team at all?
No, please show me. I fancy a laugh.
Right. Okay, don't look. Please don't look at anything. I just want to reveal it to you. Okay?
Oh, actually, I do know the team because I'm on... I do. I have it. I have it here.
Okay. Well, his transfers this week for a -4 were Foden and Visser out for Fernandes and Højlund. Obviously, I can immediately hear your reaction. What? He said he was going to go for Cunha. Obviously, he didn't. He went for Højlund. He decided to go with Højlund instead. What did you say about Jason and FPL this year?
I've said multiple things. Poor guy, he's lovely, but I said it's just a bit, this whole thing. Here's what I said, yeah. I was washing up last week and Sunday's reaction, and he goes, no, Steve, I don't go for any Man U players. I'm not going to go for any. And I literally said, I was washing up. That's bullshit. I bet he's going to bring in a Man U player by the end of the stream. And, I've been saying for weeks, like, what's he going to do next? What's he going to do this week? It's just a running gag, a running skit. Bless him. And I do feel that when his chips run out, he'll stop. He'll stop making transfers, stop looking at his team anymore. And it's... I must say it's hilarious. I think at one point I wasn't even laughing anymore. I was like, oh, I'm like, this is really bad now. I'm not actually enjoying what he's doing anymore. But after seeing Visser out, yeah, it definitely made me giggle. Funny thing is, I love Jason. He gives me no stick, unlike a good 10 people on this chat wankers that like to give me stick. Jason actually doesn't, but seeing what happens with his team is very funny. 5.5 million, by the way, just for I tell you.
Who's that?
Jason.
Oh, yeah, I'm fully aware. Because that's the amount of hits his team is actually fine on paper. Raya, 8 Yuri, Vardy, Lewis, Saka, Fernandes, Palmer, Salah, and Burmo, Jimenez, and Højlund. But it's just the amount of hits he's taken. But I did say to him on a voice message, because I didn't have a clue what his team was. I hadn't checked anything. And then I looked at his team and I'm thinking, of all the people that decides to not captain Fernandes, it's him. And I thought, because I generally do think Man United are going to have a bit of fun against Leicester tomorrow. I think Fernandes could do really well, and I'm surprised Jason hasn't actually gone with him.
Oh, gone with him to captain?
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, Man United have not really played great football under Van Nistelrooy, to be honest with you. So, tomorrow's game could be anything. I wouldn't even be surprised if it was a draw. I expect them to win, but I don't think it's going to be any kind of battering. I could see Leicester even holding a lot of possession as well. The game that they won 5-2 was ridiculous, though. There was a couple of silly goals, and there was a Casemiro absolute stunner that he scored. But yeah, I mean, I'm genuinely, I'm actually relieved you didn't get Garnacho as well as Mazraoui. I mean, let's just wait and see what happens going forward. But Mazraoui is probably going to play as a wing back for that team. I think Kieran, for once in his life, actually gave some good information when he was saying that Mazraoui will probably play as wing back.
Yeah,
I 100% concur.
Gary saying Jason spent all the last week's Sunday stream saying he still doesn't trust Man United, and then he does exactly that. Brings in 2 Man United players on a -4.
Yeah, within an hour.
Yeah, I don't know if it will backfire. You never know. Højlund could match Visser, but the fact that he did it for a -4, I'm yawning my head off, for a -4, yeah, it's just typical for someone like Jason this season, where everything just seems to be going wrong. Jordan saying, and it's time for now Everton clean sheets now Braithwaite's back, and hey,
yeah,
I'm sure Everton's fixtures are pretty good, aren't they? And I think they are someone to potentially look at from a defensive perspective. They got some decent options as well.
100%. The one I'm really looking at is actually Braithwaite for yourself. Potentially Mikolenko, but I think Braithwaite's a great shout. Especially as, with the kind of team, you're really strengthening that 11, if that makes sense. That someone like Greaves can eventually be a Braithwaite, and then you've got 5 playing defenders that you can rotate, isn't it? Because eventually I'm thinking Dunk goes to Saliba or Gabriel.
What was I going to read? There was one. Oh yeah, Animations is waiting to see if Son his captain's son. Is Animations onto something there, or has he completely lost the plot? I think he's onto something.
Oh, he's onto something. Come on, at home to Ipswich, I think, like yourself, I think Spurs will get a score minimum of 4 goals. The one thing great about Spurs, if you have attacking assets, is they don't stop, do they? Yeah. They don't stop. They keep going and going till the very last minute. So, from the game I'm playing with Telegraph, not having Spurs is actually terrifying. But if
Son plays the full 90, which I don't think he will, I think he'll play about 65, 70 tomorrow, which he could still do some serious damage in that time. But as I keep stating, the problem with Tottenham this year is that their goals and assists are spread across everybody. They've got 5 people. They've got Maddison, Son, Johnson, Kulusevski and Solanke. All 5 of those, all the points are spread across.
Werner is even getting a couple, and now it's madness, isn't it?
Yeah, it is crazy how many points are being spread across. I mean, obviously last week Solanke got the bulk of it, but you would think that a player like Solanke, who is the striker for a team like Tottenham, should be scoring quite heavily for Tottenham.
Yeah.
Andrew saying how I'm going to be an Ipswich supporter tomorrow. Oh, trust me, Delap gets a double, he won't do, but if Delap's scoring would be absolutely incredible tomorrow. It would be absolutely amazing. I'm hoping for a massive upside from Son, hoping he makes at least 70 minutes again. His minutes are being managed. That's the truth of the matter. Colm saying, I brought in Solanke. It could have been Isaac, as I'm holding for Jackson as he's had his 1 game suspension. After he's had his 1 game suspension for 5 yellows. Jackson had a suspension? I don't know. I can't think.
No, I think he's probably on 4 at the moment, isn't it? And then it's basically everyone's just waiting for that yellow card.
So John Duran's coming on. So Jordan saying it, I'm going to target Pickford and not really seeing a lot from other goal. Yeah, again, great choice. Very, very good choice.
Yeah, he
has
4 yellows.
Today's fixtures. Is there any matches where you thought, I can't believe that score happened? For me, it has to be West Ham 0, Everton 0. It's just shocking for a team like West Ham being at home to Everton and not getting a win there. History was well on their side as well.
Yeah, Lopetegui is he needs to start really get something going now. You know, the novelty will eventually run out. I mean, when you look at the kind of team they could put out, Steve-O, it's actually their front 6 is so exciting. You know, nice at Paqueta. Obviously, we got Bowen, got Antonio, who's starting to perform well again. And apparently it was just a dire game as well, from what I've read. I didn't watch the highlights of this game because it was 0-0. I had no interest then. But yeah, I think, you know, he needs to get something going soon. I mentioned that I think look, 2 or 3 seasons in a row, Everton have got like 1 win in their first 8 games or something stupid like that. They're such terrible starters, but then eventually they start to get going as well, you know, and Dyche starts to do the dodgeball, you know, and start to get all these clean sheets and all this kind of crap. And I think that's what's going to happen. I think it's just, I'll be honest with you, I think it's inevitable, you know. The next game they got Brentford at home, Man United away, Wolves at home. I'd not be surprised if they somehow got 2 clean sheets from those 3 games.
Everton just remind me exactly like Burnley, like you state. Like with Burnley, the first 10 games, you'd be lucky to get a win. And then after those 10 games, it would just be, you don't lose for 10. And then the last 18 games, it would be just a sporadic mixture of wins, losses and draws, mainly losses. But he knew he'd done enough to stay up in the league, and it's just happening with Everton. I'm just looking at the live bonus point systems at the moment. Robertson 3, Darwin 2, Canate and Van Dijk 1 Ray. I think you owe me a coffee.
Well, Salah's captaincy is getting higher than Haaland. No. Not by a point.
Well, actually, you are right, because obviously the clean sheet. The clean sheet, of course. He's on 6 points at the moment, Salah.
So technically, I'll probably owe you a coffee, yeah. I mean, a game. Oh, sorry, go on. After you.
Well, no, it's just the fact that Canate is looking. It sounded like Aston, but there's no way in hell they're scoring tonight, are they?
Let's see. I hope so, obviously, from an Arsenal point of view. But the game I did want to talk about, I mean, Brentford's ridiculous 180 from what they were the previous 3 seasons, isn't it? They're so offensively
at home
entertaining now, Steve-O. I know, but they're conceding and scoring so many goals. They were never doing this in the previous 3 seasons in the Premier League.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure there must be podcasts, probably Planet FPL, to be honest with you. They've probably studied the reason why Brentford this season at home, compared to most other seasons, are conceding so many and scoring so many. But from my point of view, it seems to be that Thomas Frank has gone, guys, just have fun. When we're at home, we're going to play a 4-3-3, whatever. And we just want to just attack. And when we are at home to the big boys like Liverpool, Man United, Man City, Arsenal, and so on and so forth, we're going to play a 5-4-1 and just hit on the break. Whereas when they are away from home, it seems that they're just trying to hold out for a draw / trying to hit teams on the break. Hence what happened the other day in that Fulham game, which was, I mean, did you watch that game, Ray?
I did.
In fact,
It was
to tell the audience about your Robinson experience with that.
Yeah, so, well, I had Smith Rowe, Robinson, and Visser for Telegraph, and Fulham were just absolutely dominating. It's quite funny, actually, because what you're saying is that, yeah, they literally went to, the old style of how Thomas Frank likes to set up. And I couldn't believe Fulham hadn't scored. They were absolutely dominating. And then Visser goes off. I was like, oh, all right then. Come on, Fulham. And then Smith Rowe went off. I was like, oh, fuck's sake, whatever. And I'm watching the rest of it. And then Robinson gets that assist for the win, and it came off Wilson's shoulder. I went absolutely mad. And I remember messaging you or audio. I said, that's what's brilliant about fantasy football. When your asset that you least honestly suspect to do anything suddenly comes up with some kind of asset, and he's only like 6% owned as well in Telegraph. I went absolutely mad. And that's the magic of what fantasy football does, isn't it? Is you're kind of watching a game that has no significance to you from a footballing aspect, but then when your asset who's not highly owned suddenly returns, like an Ait Nouri, for example, you feel top of that world for that moment, isn't it? And that's what it does to you.
Yeah, because I know Gary's here now. Gary, I suggest you get Ray here onto your channel to talk about the aspects of mental health and FPL, because obviously this is a gentleman who has quit FPL. In fact, do you want to, right now, the platform's yours, tell Gary right now as to, in a short form way of why you quit FPL?
Yeah, sure, Gary. I mean, quite frankly, I have an obsessive personality, and what it was doing to me is it was actually kind of making me mentally, very unhappy and feeling very stressed. And, FPL was supposed to be just a leisure, but because it's so, it's all encompassing and everything, there's content you can find from everywhere. Basically, it was becoming an addiction for me once again. And, I did appreciate kind of like when you're giving the example of, alcohol. It's absolutely true. And Siva, you're very right that, well, if Ray just had a sip, would he be all right, or would he go back all in? And you rightfully said, Siva, no, I know Ray, he'll go all in again. And it's very true. Quite funny, though, is that I've been playing Dream Team for 20 years. I've been playing Telegraph for 7 years. I spend never longer than 1 hour on my team because there's nothing to do, isn't it? And just to kind of round it off, and yeah, absolutely, I'd love to be on your channel. You just let me know. It's Candyland in FPL. You actually have unlimited transfers, really, in essence. I think for me, that kind of completely does a mind fuck to me. And also, I put way too much pressure on myself as well regarding content. So, yeah.
I think that's another thing with FPL which causes. I generally think it does have a big say in why people get stressed over it, is because of what you just said, the amount of transfers that can be made. And I know that Andy, aka FPL Mode, the latest interview on his channel, and he said words to the effect of, I've completely lost my train of thought. It's brilliant, isn't it, Ray? He was talking about how FPL is for your everyday casual player. It's not aimed at people like us, which are your die-hard, looking at it from a nitty-gritty point of view and whatnot. They just want to try and get the engagement up as much as they can. But so it just, do as many transfers as you want. If it costs you points, it costs you points. It really doesn't matter. And I think that's FPL's almost, I don't know if it's a flaw or not, but the fact that deep down you can make as many transfers as you want, it doesn't matter. Whereas in, like with Telegraph, you've only got a limited amount, haven't you?
Yeah, you only have 40. And I think another thing as well is, it's verbatim as well. And, what I'll do is after the stream's finished, Steve, in the comments, I'll probably drop the video that, where I was able to extract the audio from our Patreon about why I was leaving, is the deadline as well. The deadline's mad because You know, on a Saturday, for example, if it's a 12:30 kickoff, I'm in front of my laptop at 10 a.m. I'm listening to streams and then I'm waiting for these leaks and stuff. So a good 2.5 hours before the actual kickoff, I am in fully engaging and trying to find something and try to make sure that I have, you know, blessing people like Boona kind of muted so that, you know, I don't get duped or anything as well. What you can do on Telegraph is, like every fantasy game should be, is I can have an asset playing in a 12:30 game, then I can change him for someone who plays in 3 p.m. I'll get both points. And there's no, the deadline is kickoff itself. I just think from a mental aspect, that's brilliant, because how many times have I told you that, oh, I actually missed what would have been FPL deadline, you know, and I'm just like, okay, it's 2:45 p.m. Smith Rowe playing, brilliant. Robinson playing, brilliant. Visser playing, brilliant. All right, I'll put it down now. And, you know, I'm now, I gave you the screenshot, is I'm 450th in the world now in the game. And okay, it's only 90,000. It's only 95,000 players, Callum told me on Telegraph, because I actually DM'd with him a little bit. And I've only used 6 transfers, you know, so I'm actually in a really good spot. But again, it's because I've just been so relaxed. The most content I do is do a few thumbnails. I made a community that I told you as well, but It's been so enjoyable. But if I may, I know you said briefly, but it never happens when you and I talk, is what I do miss is the community aspect of FPL. You know, I could put my team on X and say, hey guys, I have 2 transfers. What would you guys do? And you could have like an engagement of 20 comments, and it's absolutely brilliant. I miss that community aspect. That's the thing I miss the most, because I remember when we did that game week 4, game week 5 kind of wildcard planning for you. You said, is there anything you regret, anything you miss? And at the time I said, no, absolutely nothing. No, I miss the community aspect, actually, because I think that's what, funny enough, that's not why we're friends, but I created a lot of great relationships. Some people on here, like Roberto and I have been communicating for probably about 3 years or something like that. And we've met a couple of times and, you know, we got on so well. But that's the thing I genuinely miss quite a lot, is the community function.
Yeah, because you do loads of spaces as well. I say loads. Yeah, you would do lots of spaces, and it's a way of, like you say, connecting with people, and you do make a lot of friends. I mean, it's funny, like Gary saying here, that I was quite surprised how Andy seemed to have been affected quite a lot by FPL. He always seems to be so laid back, and this is exactly the point. People don't maybe not show it as much, because let's not mess about here. Channels that Andy would do, and the majority of FPL content is just safety. It's just answering questions, or it's here's my advice in a short form video done. Whereas when you're live streaming like me and Ray are doing right now, or I can see Alf there, good evening pal, when you're doing pretty much live reactions and you're invested in something, the truth of the matter is that you can't hide emotions. But these guys, they don't really do that kind of content. They just stick to a formulaic style, which is just safe. And by the time they talk about on streams or videos about what happened the week before, they just have that, usually they have that typical reaction, which is, oh well, let's just move on, who cares? But you don't see what happened 3 or 4 days ago when their picks aren't doing particularly well, or their captaincy has failed, or their transfers have failed. You don't see any of that, but then they've got that excuse 3 or 4 days later, or even the following day, where they're like, oh well, let's just get on with answering questions. It's just a very safe way of doing content, whereas behind the scenes, it's like, I don't know, talking of alcoholics, you could be working with someone that's got a real problem with something that is going on in their life, and it's not affecting them at work. But then behind the scenes at work, they could be having real serious problems with something going on, which deep down is destroying them. And yeah, I think that with a lot of FPL content creators, they can hide it quite well. And I'll be honest with you, Gary, as well. I think some of the things that the guys are saying on the interviews, that they're just saving face, to be honest with you, because the problem when this applies to anything. I don't know what you think about this, Ray, but when you speak to somebody that has a very, very, very large following, or even in business when they've got a very large customer base, they've got to protect themselves, they've got to protect their brand. Whereas nobody's like us, the independent content creators. Give or take, we've got nothing to lose. This isn't my job. Elite FPL ends tomorrow. It's the end of it. I'll just start up another channel if I could be bothered.
Oh, thank God.
These other people can't do that. So, well, what do you think about that, Ray? Am I speaking absolute twaddle? Or...
No, absolutely not. No, I mean, one thing you and I spoke about is they almost put a facade on of where it's not really them as the individual, it's FPL enter name. And, you know, one thing I can totally see is they don't really give an opinion per se that really kind of shows any real emotion or perhaps any real belief. And when you're someone like, when you're people like you and I who have lived life a bit and, you know, in our 40s per se, is, you know, you kind of sniff through the bullshit and it's like, can you just tell me what you think, please? You know, that's ultimately what we want. But then when you pull up a subject which is not FPL related, where it can be, you know, for example, Room 101 with the Juice, which I initially really, really enjoyed, is a moment that you talk to them about their pet peeves. Their emotion comes out, you know, their real emotion comes out, and then you can actually see the personality, you know, because we're not judging them now based on what their craft is per se. We're talking more about, okay, what really pisses you off, you know, and when they do that, you know, then you can see the personality. On my channel, I guess a cheap plug, which I will be cheap plugging a lot during international break, is I would interview, you know, said content creators, people like James, people like Abdul, Nima, for example, is, you know, I'd start to talk to them about their football team. And, you know, you and I talk a lot about icebreakers, and then I start to see different sides. You know, I'm like, what's your favorite moment from your team? You know, and you get a little more emotion, but at the same time, it's still very safe, if that makes sense, Steve-O. And that's why, you know, I've detached myself from a lot of other content creators I used to follow, because I start to see them follow the same formula of, it's going to sound harsh, but I don't care. Like you said, I don't care. We don't care. I think they're sold out. Yeah, they're selling out. And, you know, people like myself are not interested in that content anymore. And I've shared a lot with that with you, you know, directly, is that, you know, they've lost their essence. They've lost what made me love them. And with all credit to you, and I've said that to you very directly, is that if Elite FPL ever go to that side, I'm not going to blame you. I understand why it's being done, but the love that I have has deteriorated, so there's no need for me to contribute anymore. So I fully agree with you. Fully.
Gary saying it, to be fair, I thought Andy was, I love the fact you're calling him Mode, pretty honest about how much Twitter X would affect him. Again, I mean, it's not difficult to really answer a question about that, but he's not, what I'm trying to get is that they don't show it via a live stream, so they won't. I can't even think of an example like it. They're not going to do watch-alongs, or, I mean, this isn't the reason why large content creators don't do watch-alongs, but I think one of the reasons why they don't do it is because of what the example that Mark and Az do when they do their match of the day ones, is that Mark openly admits it. I'm almost having a panic attack. They've got thousands of people waiting, and it's this, I don't know, it's this really weird kind of like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm going to say, I don't know what I'm going to do. And they openly say it. This is why live streams are so fascinating, because they even say during the live stream, oh, I shouldn't have sworn. Shouldn't be saying this, shouldn't be saying that. And it's like, well, so are you now censoring your own personality so you don't get demonetized? It's just, there are even points where these people literally go, don't worry about it now. We've sworn. We can now be ourselves. What? It's this bizarre, crazy, what do we call it? It's this bizarre, crazy psychology going on.
Dynamic, yeah.
What's he saying here? He's not going to say... What's he not going to say on Scoutcast? Well, this is like the point that the things like Scoutcast, etc., they're all just formulaic things where they're just going to talk about specific subject matters. And they've already been given I would assume they get given a script. Like you send off to the people that you're interviewing, you send them off the questions so they get an idea of what you're going to ask. It's not like now I could ask Ray absolutely anything. He wouldn't have a clue what I'm going to say to him. I just know that when I speak to Ray, I'm going to get an answer which is good enough for me to not have to... Hold on. Salah, come on, please score. Come on. Onto the left. Goal! Salah assist. No, he hasn't. He scored. Oh!
Salah assist. No, he hasn't. He scored.
Yes! Oh!
Yay. Thank you, Ray, is what I hear through the celebration.
Yes!
Don't worry, Ray, I won't think about that Kanate bonus points that he'll get. Well done, my man. Bollocks. Because Villa were actually playing quite well, but it doesn't matter.
This is what FPL does. I want Aston Villa to score so Kanate doesn't get a clean sheet. But Mazrari tomorrow could get an attack in return.
Animations is holding on. So, Steve, there was... But also, if you go back to the conversation we're having, is what they do caters to a certain audience. Yeah, It's like, tell me what to do, please. Yeah, and I'm not knocking it. I'm not saying be real. I'm just saying that is not content that attracts or applies to me because you're not being yourself. If you told people what to do, but you were releasing your personality to it, I'd love that. I'd absolutely love it. I think it'd be brilliant. It would be brilliant content because you're kind of more attaching yourself to the individual. And if they're doing really well at the game, then absolutely, I think it's something that could work. But when you really release your personality per se, like you do or like I do, it's not really popular, if that makes sense, isn't it? Because then you start going to say not outlandic things, but you're going to be very opinionated as well. And I just don't think that's popular in the masses. You know, if you look at all the major content creators, they're all safe. They all follow a very same pattern. Fuck that. All their thumbnails are the same, Steve-O. All the thumbnails are the same with normally the same player at the front of it. So all I can think of is they all have their own, if you like, WhatsApp group saying, oh, I'm going to do it this way, I'm going to do it that way, I want to do it that way. And they just use all the same kind of photos and all the same colors and everything. They haven't differentiated themselves from each other. So ultimately what they have become is the equivalent of iRobot, where you just have all these robots who are pretty much the same.
Yeah, I mean, Gary's interviews have been brilliant. Generally, I've really enjoyed them. And the reason why we got onto that subject matter is because obviously what Gary was saying about how these people have come out, especially in this case, Andy's point, where they've come out and openly said that I've struggled with X, Y, and Z. And obviously these guys have only got a certain amount of time with Gary because, like with anybody that's very, very busy, they can only offer an hour's worth of time. Like I always think about like the music industry. You can have the singer of Avenged Sevenfold. Well, I can only give you like an hour worth of my time, but some underground deathcore act that no one knows, the singer's going to go, I can talk to you for as long as you want. I'll never forget that with the Ingested singer. And he was just on a podcast, which is just a bunch of nobodies, like us, basically. And the Ingested singer, who, yeah, they're a big band, but in the grand scheme of things, they're nothing. And the singer went, chat to you as long as you want. I've got all the time in the world. Whereas if it's like one of the biggest bands on the planet, it's like, yeah, we only got a limited amount of time. And it's the same with a lot of even in the FPL content space, it's, yeah, I can give you an hour because I've still got to do editing, I've got to do thumbnails, I've got to do interviews, I've got to do WhatsApp group messaging, and it just goes on and on and on. But yeah, I've like I said, I've really enjoyed the interviews Gary's been doing. If you're wondering what the hell we're talking about, basically it was just Gary from his channel FPL Had a Beer, and I highly recommend just going out your way and watching it. And same with Alf tonight. Hopefully you guys all check out Alf afterwards. I don't actually know how to raid Alf's stream, but he'll be going live after us. There's a question for you, Ray, which I really like, from Lewis. Will you return to FPL next season, or do you see yourself never returning to the game?
Lewis, it's a great question because it's actually something I ask myself when Steve-O and I are sharing about FPL. Is I love this part where I'm helping a friend. Yeah, I love that. And if you follow my advice, use a bit of it, don't do it at all, it doesn't affect me in any way, if that makes sense. The only thing it will be like, I really think you should have this guy. That's all it will be. And then I'll just move on. And family have said the same as well to me, a couple of, like a massive, well, it's not massive. It's just, one of the mini leagues I had, we had me in England, we had a couple in Australia, we had one in Singapore, and we had one in Norway. Does that make sense? We were completely spread, and that's what kind of brought us all together to banter and bet and win and everything like that. And they've said, "Oh, you'll take a year and then come back, right?" And I said, the thing is I love how I watch football. I love how I can just help you, and I still receive some DMs of, "Here, Ray, here's my team. Do you think you can have a look at it?" And I know it's a bit cheesy and corny when I use the word consultant, but I actually love doing that. I'll be honest with you, Lewis. I think I have, kind of gone to the other side. I've crossed the fence, and the grass is greener this side. The grass is greener this side. And, there are players who aren't playing now, like, with that Hall, Gabe isn't playing the game this season. Chris Mariner isn't playing the game this season, but obviously he's had some devastating personal news. So,
sorry, just rewind a second. One of the presenters of Net the Hall isn't playing the game anymore.
Well, he's not a host, is he? FPL Lens.
I generally don't know who that is. I apologise.
Gabriel, the American one.
Right.
It was him, Nima, and Chris.
Yes.
Chris. Yeah. So the two of them are not playing the game anymore. A couple of others as well.
What's the reason behind that? Sorry. I generally don't know.
With Gabe, I think it's just more of like a time aspect, and I think with Mariner, he had a lot of personal devastation that's happened with him.
Right, I see.
And again, it's the all-encompassing aspect, Also, when you look at the Wildcats, I can say this, Brett isn't playing this season. JNO isn't playing this season.
Right.
I'm a bit unsure about. I'm unsure about Nymphria, but she did set up a Telegraph mini league. But the point I'm trying to make is a lot of people. I don't know. I said I think, but I know the other two definitely haven't, because we have a group together as well where I was sharing about my reasoning for not playing, because they were curious as well. But what I'm trying to say is, I've crossed the path, Lewis. The grass is green on this side, and I'm still playing a fantasy football game, which out of all the ones I've ever played, I love the most. I love the Telegraph one, and I can still enjoy it. And however, I'm still happy to, help friends and stuff, because I know the game. I played for 4 years solid, including doing content and stuff like that as well. So, but I think the game got to me a bit too much, isn't it? Again, it's personality.
I think, well, based on just looking at her X account, she's certainly not posting about FPL anymore. So that is, well, that's an interesting thing. I didn't realise that amount of people, just a small select few, have decided not to play anymore.
Yeah. No, it's but I think also when it comes to, with content creators as well, I feel when people come out of the woodwork, I don't know if that's the right word, but I can speak for myself, is that 4 years ago when I started to get into FPL, Sivo, is initially I kind of just wanted to share about my opinion, and then suddenly I was getting, some followers here and there. We've spoken before about what X did for me. I went up like 2, 3, 4,000 followers within 6 months. And then I started to do content and everything like that. Is I started to chase a dream that I didn't know what the dream was, if that makes sense. I was chasing a rainbow, but I didn't know what destination I wanted. And I guess ultimately it would have been that, I'd love to do this as a job and I get paid for it. But I'm so delighted that hasn't happened, Sivo, because when I look at, the big hitters who do this, I don't see the joy in their face compared to maybe preseason, for example, or maybe, 4 years ago as well, when they were doing it because of their love. When you're getting paid for it as well, I generally feel like a lot of these individuals don't actually love the game anymore. They don't love what they're doing. They're doing it because, okay, you're getting paid. Absolutely. It's still brilliant you're getting paid to play a game per se. But, I never wanted this to be a job. And I realized it took me too long to figure it out. But, it was becoming a stress. I know I'm just repeating a lot of what I said in that episode. But, not being able to fall asleep because you've captained the wrong player is just bollocks, in my opinion. And it had to become that obvious.
Well, Animation's making a point there that what a way to end the Saturday night fixtures and bring on tomorrow. I mean, just quickly going over tomorrow's fixtures for a second. So we have got Man United home to Leicester, Nottingham Forest, Newcastle, Spurs, Ipswich, Chelsea, Arsenal. Obviously, your biggest interest is going to be in the Arsenal game. Do you see any upsets tomorrow, meaning, i.e., Leicester beating Man United? It's just ended full time. Yeah. Leicester beating Man U. I don't know. I don't even think that would be a shock. I don't think there's a shock in the Nottingham Forest Newcastle game that could go anywhere. And then maybe Ipswich getting something out of Spurs. I think tomorrow's games are pretty straightforward.
I think so, Steve. I mean, on Super Brew, I won't give the actual scores. You're actually ahead of me in Super Brew, so that's annoying. But I predicted Man U to win. I predicted Forest Newcastle draw, actually. I expect Tottenham to win quite comfortably, and then I predicted Chelsea Arsenal draw as well. So the only game I would say, oh my God, that's an absolute shock, is if Ipswich do not lose against Spurs. Does that make sense? Like, if it's a draw, I'll be like, oh my goodness. Like, that's a massive shock for me, because Ipswich are so bad, in my opinion. Well, they are. They're just such a bad team. And Spurs are just firing on all cylinders at the moment at home. I just can't see them scoring less than 4 goals.
Yeah, I know. Gary here saying, does anyone have any idea what an FPL content creator earns? The one with, say, 100k? I can give you a general insight, because I kind of know. I've discussed this a billion times on Patreon. It's approximately... Right, I know for fact that I'm not going to name who, and they do not have 100,000 subscribers. In fact, they're nowhere near that. But I am fully aware that one very, very popular content creator, very popular, they take home, because I did all the maths, they take home approximately £2,000 a month. Approximately, and maybe a bit more now. But they roughly take that. And then with these
How many videos would that be, roughly?
2 videos?
Yeah. Because it's based on videos and AdSense.
Yeah, this was more based on their Patreon.
Oh, okay. Oh, I think I know who you're talking about.
This was more based on their Patreon. Whereas the big YouTube streamers, again, it's just rough estimates. It would probably be between 2,500 and 3,000. Roughly. That includes deducting tax, deducting what YouTube takes, because YouTube for Super Chats takes 35-40%. So you donate a tenner, that person only gets about 6-7 quid, for instance. And with the, like Ray just said regarding videos, if a video's getting an average of 80,000 views, you're probably getting about... Again, this is just me making a rough estimate here.
Yeah, just all estimate, yeah.
It's about I would say it's about 60, 70 quid. I know that Larry Wills. So Larry Wills is one of the biggest fitness influencers. I'm not even going to say influencer. One of the biggest fitness channels out there. And he did a video about one of his videos that got, I think it was 28 million views, or I can't remember. It was something ridiculous in the millions, and he got about $2,000 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's nothing, and this is why people create so much content per week. And I'm not even talking about FPL. I'm talking just in general. They create all this stuff, especially in the fitness industry. They are cretins. They are absolute fucking cretins in the YouTube fitness space. And they will put up the most clickbaity shite you will ever see in your life. And people like me, if they see it, I go, do I watch it? Yeah, why not? And to be completely frank, they'll get millions upon millions of views. And they'll get what? A few £100 here or there. You do that, what? 2 or 3 times a week. That's nearly £1,000. Times that by 4 grand. Plus then you throw in their sponsorship, the other advertisement details and every stuff like that. You're talking... In fact, if we were to use Mark Goldbridge, we'll just use Mark Goldbridge as an example here. I reckon Mark Goldbridge earns for everything he does. I reckon he earns about, let's just say £5 grand a month. I reckon he earns about £5 grand a month for him personally. I could be way off. I could be bang on. I could be way under. But it's not much. It really isn't. I always use this as an example. And again, this is what, 4 or 5 years ago. Me and Jason did a stream for 3 hours. And it came up, this is when we used to monetize. And it came up with how much your potential earnings could be. And it said 2p to 15p for 3 hours of streaming. 2p. Brilliant. It's it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. I mean, you're quite right. So, using Social Blade, I put in Mark Goldbridge, not his real name, by the way, is, they put him as
Brent.
grade B. They put him as grade B, and, he has, 380,000+ followers. Or subscribers, excuse me, and they say that his monthly earnings are between 246 quid to £4,000. Now, granted, this is just based on his YouTube channel, but for someone like that who's an overall product, isn't it? He's not just relying on that. He's relying on other aspects he have. He's relying on that Patreon, for example. So when you really break down the amount of hours and the amount of selling of yourself, the amount of connections you need to do to other kind of revenue generating outlets as well, it's just an absolute beast, isn't it? And the thing is, you can't, even for someone who's got so many subscribers, it's mad, he's going to probably hit 400,000 by the end of the year, Sivo, is that he just has to keep churning out all this material and all of these other guest things as well. It's just, it's absolute.
I think
the amount of work, and also you have to rely on. How do I say this as well? Is that I would never want to own my own business, and the reason I say that is because you're never off. Does that make sense? Like if you're not working, you ain't getting paid, kind of thing. And you can't just suddenly put the phone down and be like, right, family time now. Because when I was working as a mortgage advisor before the recession, but it was before my relationship, me and my wife and everything like that. I was like single lad flying around and, just causing all kinds of havoc. Is that, it's like at 10 p.m. I'd be answering calls. And, if a mortgage application as well needs to be done at this time, otherwise the rake suddenly goes, I'll be there until 11 p.m. and stuff like that. Because I was working for myself, I was my own company per se. and you just can't turn off aspect. And what I feel with YouTubers who take it as a full-time job, you can't really turn off, in my opinion. I have had some conversations as well, which I will share with you privately, about how many hours that some of these people in, and you'll know some of these people as well. And I'm just like, that's longer than a week at work, and I'm making, touch wood, significantly more than you on 40 hours a week, and that's not me. That's not at all me being big-headed or anything like that. That's just the reality of I'm putting a lot less hours in, and I can switch off, whilst these people not only have to put the hours in into the recording, there's the editing, there's the checking. Okay, that's YouTube. Now I need to do things on Instagram. Now I need to do things on TikTok. Now I need to do things with, if I'm part of Fantasy Football Hub, how many hours are you really doing as well? And I don't think the juice is worth the squeeze, isn't it? And then in my opinion, the passion goes.
Yeah, no, I thought you were going to continue chatting. No, I completely concur with that. I think it's a subject matter which just absolutely fascinates me, because
fascinates
us. And I think, to be honest, I think that lots of people that consume this type of content we're doing right this second as we speak at 10:05 on a Saturday evening, and thank you everybody that is tuning in for these last few minutes, is that, again, we're just two blokes just chatting twaddle about whatever. But I always think about what James, the producer, said to me, which is, we're living in a day and age now where, and it is true, anybody that creates content, you are famous in someone's eyes because they're constantly consuming your content on a regular basis. And even though you may have only, because he used the example of, even if it's 10 people a week listening to your podcast or watching your streams, to them, you are Michael Jackson. You are this person which brings joy to that individual's life on that weekly basis when you release whatever content that you do. And when you're, like I keep saying, we're nobodies, but it's true in the grand scheme of things. This channel, for example, is tiny. It's just minuscule. It's nothing. But with the very, very, very big content creators, and like we've already said, they have to protect their brand, because they cannot just go, bored now, I'm done. The only person that's done that is Mark Southerns. He did it. He went, do you know what? I genuinely can't do this anymore. I'm done. I know that Andy mentioned this on Gary's video the other day, where Mark Southerns went, I can't do this anymore. This game has just ruined me mentally. And creating content has got to the point where it's actually making me ill. And then, of course, we know the story. He came out of retirement, and he does what he does now. But there's a small, but he's even openly admitted this season that, hold on a minute here, this is not what I was wanting, and he's had to stop doing certain videos and streams because it's got to him, because he has a job. He has a full-time job. I mean, I don't know how old Mark is. I'd take a random guess, and he's in his mid-40s, mid to late 40s. But, I respect him a lot. And I think all credit to him for just be like, you just got to accept the fact that I'm just your normal regular guy with a family and a job. I just like talking FPL, but I don't want to have that pressure of people thinking I'm some kind of oracle, and people are just coming to me wanting all this advice and knowledge and me creating content when it's like, I can't do this because I've got this going on in my life. And especially when these tossers decide to give content creators shit, because that's the one thing, like, I can have an open conversation about what I may think about FPL content or whatever, but I'm never ever going to give content creators abuse for starting up something which, like with Andy, for instance, he's created a platform, the equivalent of a Patreon, where people pay to join into a group chat essentially, and they get advice from somebody that knows how to play the game, and they will have a brilliant. At the time, I remember him getting a load of shit for it, and I'm just there like, Jesus Christ, like, what fucking losers have got a problem with somebody that's just offering a service? If you want it, you want it. If you don't, you don't. You know, he's not hiding. He's not actually hiding the fact that he's offering this service. It's why I've got such a big problem with OnlyFans, is because these people hide the fact of what they are. I genuinely can't get my head around that, Ray. Yes, there'll be the odd person here or there that does OnlyFans, and they will openly be like, I love doing what I do. Okay, fine. I accept that. Brilliant. We move on. But there's a lot of them which don't. They don't admit what they do. Well, they admit what they do, but they're essentially ashamed of it. And it goes back to the whole thing that I talk about on the podcast, which is, so you're in a gym and you're essentially wearing a thong, but you don't like the fact that people are looking at you like, what? It makes no sense. Or the simple one is, if you go into a shop wearing a muffin on your head, expect people to look, and when people look at you, you can't say what you're looking at. Well, you've chosen to wear a muffin on your head. It's such a weird landscape. But the funny thing is that in FPL is literally what you've just said, which is it's a landscape which is just about people wanting to be told what to do. And when people are doing well at the game, or have got a history of doing well at the game, people will gravitate towards those people. It's like even you, Ray, will openly admit that you get shit for people saying, in fact, do you want to address this? Oh, you don't play FPL, Ray. Why should I listen to you? Do you want to address that question? That statement?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's someone did it to me. My cousin did it to me. He goes, yeah, but you're not playing FPL anymore. So, you know, why are you commenting on it, and why should people listen to you? You know, and he's coming from a place of love, you know, obviously. It's good to have open conversation. And I literally said to him, are you a professional footballer? And he goes, what do you mean? I'm like, are you a professional footballer? And he goes, no. And I say, okay, but when you watch a football game, do you assess it, give comments, and start to put your own tactical mindset onto what you do? And he goes, yeah, I do actually. And I said, so what's the difference of you doing that, being an armchair player, and me being an armchair FPL manager, where I give my advice, look at what I would do and help out other people? And when he kind of sat there, he was like, oh shit, you're right. And I'm like, well, but that's what it is, isn't it? I'm literally just making comments and can be helpful from someone who's not actually in the game, playing the game in the trenches anymore. So
Yellen has just put a comment there saying in capitals, but I don't want guitar lessons. And I'm thinking, I'm going from my mind, I'm thinking, right, what is that quote? There's a quote there somewhere. I know what it is. I realise what it is. It's Ricky Gervais. And it is genuinely one of those where the joke is essentially that all these people that, what is it again, Yelena? Help us out here. It's words to the effect of, when you're walking down the street and seeing posters of things being advertised, and then you're just screaming at the top of your voice, but I don't want guitar lessons. I can't remember what it is now, but it's a very salient point, and it's why I'm really looking forward to covering, actually, in the extras Christmas editions with Shane, the whole thing about a man in Andy Millman who doesn't know what he wants. Does he want to be famous for the sake of being famous, or does he want respect from his peers and just be a complete nobody? And it's a dilemma everybody has. Every single, whether it's you, Ray, whether it's me, whether it's Yelena, whether it's whoever, it's, what do I want? And it's at the point where once you start feeling comfortable with what you... It's a bit like me, actually, with Elite FPL. There was a moment where I'm just kind of like, what the fuck do I want from this? And then it's to the point now where I'm just glad that what me and Jason are doing, especially with bringing mates on like you and Shane, etc., and the kind people that are happy to come on and just chat, again, absolute nonsense about, you know, whatever questions that we ask. It's brilliant, and I think that that's kind of the way I can see this channel kind of going. It's just people just talking about football integrating it obviously with FPL, and then hopefully people will get something out of it and go, you know what, Ray's got a really good point about Arsenal. Because in fact, do you want to just quickly tell the audience about Arsenal and how they're going to be setting up differently with Odegaard and how you think they're going to be defensively better now he's back? Do you want to just go into detail with that?
Before that, if that's okay. One other thing as well is, Bakar, big man Bakar.
Yes.
He gets a lot of comments online about charging a service if you want such and such and such. And the reason I don't condemn it whatsoever is because he's not forcing anyone to actually make the contribution to get this advice. He's putting it as a service there, and you have the choice whether you want to do it or not. And I think I said something to you. I'm like, yeah, go chase your bag kind of thing. You're not doing it in any kind of slimy way or anything like that. He's offering his services. He puts in a lot of time. I don't know the guy. Yeah, I have absolutely no connection to him whatsoever. But it's like with me contributing to Patreon, for example. I don't have to if I don't want to. You put it out there. I believe I enjoy the content very much. I've got great value out of it, and yeah, I'm happy to give some money. And it's a bit like when Bakar because Bakar is a massive FPL personality per se. You kind of put yourself out there a bit more to be shot at, isn't it? But I just think but I find it very difficult to condemn when someone is saying, okay, well, if you want this, you pay. I know Holly's done it in the past as well, and she got chastised. And I DM'd her and I said, I don't understand what the issue is. People don't have to pay. You're not enforcing anything like that. So I feel that to round off that opinion over there, absolutely, is that, I fully agree with you in regards to what Elite FPL is, and what makes me love it so much is that you guys have stuck to your core kind of beliefs in how you think the channel should be run. It's what is it I said to you? It's like the people stream for FPL. Does that make sense? It's kind of the voice for the voiceless. I know I've said that to you before. Anyone can come on, anyone can make a comment, and no one is judged. And there's no facade going on here.
We are the CM.
The guilty, what I say? Yeah, what I say, you're the guilty pleasure of the FPL space. But anyway, yeah, going to Arsenal, obviously a lot more serious than our own mental obstacles. We need to talk about football. I feel with Martin Odegaard now in the team, I actually think we'll be defensively better because Arteta just doesn't really trust anyone to hold the ball, to be honest with you, Steve-O. That's something I've seen, which has been angering me very, very much, is that with him on the ball now, I think it will give us more license to start to overlap. And the reason I think we'll be better defensively is because, last season when we got all those clean sheets, it wasn't because we were, 5 yards off our penalty box. It's because we held the ball so brilliantly that teams just couldn't get it off us. We were making all these overlapping runs. We were making a lot of decoy runs as well, so Odegaard could penetrate through the middle. So therefore, I think not only offensively will be a lot better, as you're saying, Cole. It will help Saka and Ben White so much. We'll have that trident again of those three players. But also as well defensively, I think we're going to be holding the ball so much better that we're going to be getting back up to those 55-60% possessions against the top teams as well. So I think Odegaard will definitely start tomorrow because I think he has to. And if something does happen, we do have the international break as well. Does that make sense? So if he isn't feeling quite right, he's got a couple of weeks to rest up.
And just quickly, tomorrow's game, I'm expecting if Cole Palmer plays, I'm expecting it to be a high-scoring 3-2 win to Chelsea. Ray?
1-1. Wait. Sorry. Oh, that was a perfect chance. Wait. 1-1.
0-0, 1-1. So you expect to be a low-scoring game?
Yeah, I think both teams could possibly cancel each other out. Funny enough, if Chelsea really come after us, I think we will win the game, but I don't think they will. I think Maresca will, if Odegaard's starting, which I expect him to, I think Maresca might say to the guys, hey guys, let's just start 5 yards deeper, and then both teams could cancel each other out. If both teams play to their best, I think we're definitely the better team. But at the moment, Chelsea have been very impressive and are above us on goal difference at the moment, and deservedly so. And the thing about this game is whoever wins goes just 2 points behind Man City.
Matt Henley, haven't seen your name for a while. Welcome, mate. We are going off air right now, but thank you for joining us. And like I say, thank you to everybody that has stuck around over this incredible live stream. It's been all over the place, but I think that's what watch-alongs, even though we haven't watched anything, are like. It's just two people in a pub chatting away, and you guys get to listen in while we're trying to consume some form of football, where it did end with Liverpool winning 2-0. And Kanate coming through with a clean sheet. I'm just quickly going to look now, as it stands right this second, how the actual points are going to be looking. I'm assuming Salah's going to be on 3 bonus points, and the simple answer is, I can't believe how many clean sheets there's been today as well.
I know.
Yeah, it's going to be Salah 3, Robertson 2, Nunez on 1, Kanate missing out. He may jump in there, but definitely with Salah getting the 3 bonus points, which is absolutely magical. Tomorrow's going to be really interesting. Obviously, me and Jason will be doing the Sunday surgery. It'll be the last stream that we'll be doing for at least 2 weeks. And then me and Ray will be doing the Total Stilo podcast for the Vince McMahon special, where we will be covering the documentary parts 1 and 2. It'll be parts 1 and 2, won't it?
Yes, it will be. And I'm very excited. I mean, every week we're trying to get something going. Shut up. Every week we were trying to get something going. And he goes, Ray, you know what? Let's just do it during international break. And I said, brilliant. Why don't we cover 2 episodes at a time? And yeah, I think he's one of the most fascinating individuals I've ever witnessed. But more important than that, Steve-O, I can give you a live rank update for yourself. So you started the game week at 1.1 million. You are currently 762,000.
But it's down to tomorrow. If this is Dream World, which will not be happening. Dream World will be Man United keep a clean sheet, Mazraoui gets some form of bonus points,
and Arsenal win 5-0.
Tottenham win, but the points are so spread that actually it's like Son gets an attack and return, Maddison, Kudus, they all get an attack and return. But it's not a double-digit return for any of them. Mm-hmm. Delap scoring would be an absolute miracle. I'm hoping in the Nottingham Forest Newcastle game, both teams score, but I'm hoping Newcastle win. And then in the Chelsea Arsenal game, I'd have from a FPL point of view, there's no real desired outcome in that game whatsoever, other than maybe Cole Palmer doing really well in that fixture because of the potential amount of people that could have sold him. But yeah, again, I really don't see it happening. I think that realistically, I think Fernandes is going to do well against Leicester. Nottingham Forest Newcastle, as we said, I think it's going to be a low score. I've got it as 1-1 as well. I'm going 1-1 in that game, but honestly 1-0 either way, something like that. Spurs Ipswich, we already discussed. I think it's going to be very high. Well, it should be a high-scoring game for Tottenham, and then with Chelsea Arsenal, you're thinking a tight game. I'm thinking if Cole Palmer starts, it could be a really good end-to-end match. Ray, we have been going on way too long now. I want to go bed, or more specifically, I want to watch episode 6. No, is it 4? 6? I can't even remember. Episode 5, I think it is actually, of Game of Thrones Series 5. And you want to go to bed. Match of the day is probably going to be on in a minute. I want to tell everybody now, if Alf is live now, or if he's going to be going live the second we finish, just jump over to Alf PL, tell him you've come here from Elite FPL, raid him, do everything you can to basically just say to him that Elite FPL is coming over here, because I really do like Alf streams, and I want to give them as much support as I can while he's doing this extraordinary marathon of streams. I think tomorrow's going to be his last one. Join me and Jason. Well, I'm assuming Jason's going to be back tomorrow for the Sunday surgery, where we can dissect whether or not Højlund and Fernandes has come through with him, which I expect they will do. Other than that, please make sure the easiest way to support the channel is just simply hitting the like button if you like the stream. If you enjoy the work that me and Jason do, along with the likes of Ray and Shane, but obviously mainly Ray. If you are brand new around here, make sure you hit the subscribe button. We do just do live streams. That's all we do is live. It's always every preview, which is Wednesdays. Roberto is going to be our next guest. So Roberto, aka FPL Yellow Army, is going to be our next guest previewing Game Week 12. That won't be until the 17th of November, something like that. I can't remember now, but whatever. It'll be 2 weeks Wednesday. And then, yeah, we do live streams on the Wednesday for the preview, and then Saturday reaction with Ray here. And then Sunday evening we do the Sunday surgeries, and then occasionally we do the watch along. So if you like your live reactions, we are the streams to come to. Other than that, just a massive thank you again to Alex Follow. If you want to support the channel, you can do. It's basically Patreon. Essentially, you're supporting Alex Volo, to be completely frank. That's all the Patreon money goes to. Cheers, Alex. Other than that, Ray, have you got any final quick thoughts before we get out of it? If not, I'm gone.
No, not at all. Steve, thanks as always. Everyone, thank you very much as well for the patience. And yeah, have a great international break.
Oh, actually, before we go, Yella's saying, thanks, guys. Fantastic way to upload a Saturday evening. If I do not see a clip in your vlog of, I don't know, you chatting away and going, oh god, Steve-O's complaining about FPL content creators again, I'll be very disappointed. Other than that, I'll be clipping off office clips.
Sorry, one more thing. Yelena, I constantly think about the story you were saying about Brits abroad, and was it Becky or something like that, or Vicky, where it's like, Becky. That story is absolutely incredible. Becky.
Phenomenal. When she did that, actually, it reminded me of, I've forgotten her name, Maxine from Tesco, and all it would be is, oi, what's this? It's a bread stack. What the fuck's she doing here for? I don't. It's 4 o'clock in the morning, Matt. I don't know. Well, tell that. I can't say the C word, but tell that piece of fucking shit that he needs to be doing this.
You can't say the C word, but you say all the words.
Yeah. And I'm just there like, I know. Again, it's 4 in the morning. I'll deal with it later. But right now, just get on with your filling. You get the idea with that. Cheers, everybody. See you later.
I love you, Becky.